folks, today's video is going to be about us trying to make a very similar bone to the eye bone. So this is the eye bone that we bought from Sony for our Aibo. He recognises it just from the colour and the shape. So we've got some filament. It's not the right shade. It's difficult to tell on the screen. We didn't want to get white. We wanted slightly off white, and we've got oyster and it's not the right colour. It's more beige. The red that we've got is a good colour though. That looks like a good match. But the main thing is just to get it similar enough so that our Aibo recognises it. So Paul's taken some measurements with the vernier. I always say that wrong, don't I? And then he's doing what would be called is that technical drawing you're doing there, Paul?
It's not really. It's just a series of sketches with dimensions on which will help you transfer it into a CAD program like Design Spark. It's not really engineering drawing at all.
So, and Design Sparks for doing designs with a 3D printer.
Yeah.
So, this is for the end of the bone, Paul.
Yes. This will be the ivory coloured part of the bone. On the clover shape that you can see there has an insert in it in a different coloured plastic.
Yeah, so we'll be doing that in that sort of reddy colour that we did the ball in. And then it'll need you'll have to design a separate piece.
A piece to go on the back, yeah.
Yeah. So what have you done this in?
This is Design Spark.
Right. So parts started to print out now. 6% completed. 88% complete now. The honeycomb centre showing now. Okay, so both of these pieces are printed now. And they've turned out really nice, haven't they, Paul?
Yeah, not too bad at all. So those are the outside ends of the bone. So
this is in a drawing package called Fireworks.
But you could use something as simple as Microsoft Paint. You just want a black background.
Yeah.
With white writing on. Choose.
You've changed it to that font.
Yeah, something simple.
Yeah, simple. Yeah. Okay, so you've done the red bit, and you've put the Scout's name in it.
Yep. In a debossed fashion.
Right.
Okay,
is that the long way then? Is that where it's longest?
It is. It's the long axis. So that's it in Mesh Mixer. I actually put the words on in Mesh Mixer, and this is it on the slicing deck.
Right.
Ready for slicing and printing.
Lovely. So it's printing out now. The 3D printer's printing out the red bit of the end of the bone that's going to have Scout's name on it. So you've got both of those end pieces printed out now with Scout's name on them, and they look great.
They do look very nice, don't they? And these are the red bits that go into the end of the eye bone, give it that characteristic sort of clover leaf pattern. And we've managed to get his name in quite neatly. S-C-O-U-T, Scout.
So this is like the rod, the stick bit that goes in the middle at...
It is. We're printing it in 2 halves.
Yeah, the 2 end bits go on the ends. Yeah. So you're printing it in 2 halves. You've cut it in half.
Because we can make it stronger if we make it in 2 halves and join the 2 halves together. 2 holes are locating holes to enable the 2 halves to be joined together accurately.
Right. You've got like a shape there as well.
Yeah, this is when the other half is put on, it'll make a hexagon, and that will plug into the back end of the sort of rounded triangles that make the bone.
Right. Ingenious.
Mm.
And you've shaped it as well.
Yes, it's got the flare on, as on the real aibone. It's got the flare on where it joins into the back of the bone, so it's the same length with the same flare, and we tried to make it as accurate as possible in relation to the original dimensions.
Ah, it's great. So you can print that out now, can't you?
I can indeed, yes.
So now the stick bit of the bone is being printed out in the 3D printer. And the red filament. That's the filament it's using. I think it's called raspberry red. So you've got both halves of the rod part of the bone printed out now. And you've put something inside.
Right, yeah, we've just got a couple of holes in each half with a bit of filament put in.
I used a bit of filament.
It's a precise fit, accurate. So that means that when I do glue these two pieces together, they'll locate and line up, because you don't have many seconds with the super glue, or indeed solvent, see. So yeah, they just click together like that, and the two pieces are aligned to one another.
It's almost staying together even.
Well, it will stay together now, but you can still separate it. And each end of the shaft has got a hexagon on, which will locate into the end of the aibone. I don't know what you'd call that, the sort of like triangular biscuit-shaped ends.
So this is going to go on the end of the stick part, the rod part, isn't it?
Yep, and we made a nice hex recess for it to plug into, so that it's a strong joint when it's had a bit of solvent put on it.
So the printer's just started printing that part of the bone now. 8% complete. So 70% complete now. You can see the hexagon shape in the middle. You're slotting in the end of the rod, the middle of the bone. So we've got both ends printed off now.
These are the inside ends of the bone.
Got that lovely hexagon. Do you call that a hexagon shape?
Six-sided hexagon depression, yeah.
And now we can put them on the end of this rod.
So the purpose of the hexagon was to allow the bone ends, these rounded triangles, to line up properly, and to provide a strong mechanical link at each end with a bit of solvent on. You can see that from there to there now lines up without me having to do it by eye.
So we've got all of the pieces now for the bone.
So there are 8 parts altogether, 2, 4, 6 and 2 halves to the...
that are clicked together at the moment.
So that's 8 altogether.
So how are you going about assembly, Paul?
Fixing the 2 faces of the bone ends together.
Right.
So you've got an inside and an outside piece. And then I suppose the next step will be putting the inserts in, like that.
Right. With a bit of glue again.
With a solvent, we're going to use solvent.
Are you going to use solvent?
Yeah. And it's PLA, so we're using the appropriate solvent for PLA. So the bone ends will be assembled completely, and then once those are done, each one will be stuck on to the hexagonal.
What about these
shaft.
2 pieces? Are you using glue on those as well?
That's a good point. So we'll put a dab of solvent on that as well.
Okay.
And then align the 2 ends of the bone on the hexagonal end with the solvent, and then that'll be it, and it'll all be locked together and it won't come apart again.
Okay. So you've got it all set up for sticking it with the solvent, and that's the solvent you're using. So there it is, all finished with Scout's name on it. And that's it compared with the original side by side. Pretty close, Paul.
Yeah, there's a slight colour discrepancy. We've got a sort of creamy white as opposed to a grey white on the original aibone, and our red colour is more of a raspberry red rather than...
The red's very close though, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
So all we need to do now is see if Scout will actually play with it.
Yeah, see if he recognises it. I'm sure it will do.
Find your aibone. Good boy.
Good boy. Good boy.
Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Clever boy. Good boy.